On today's show, Evan Mobley has been ruled out for the next 1 to 3 weeks with another calf injury. And in a season for the Cavs where the hits just keep coming, Cavs have to find a way to roll with the punches. I'll tell you why in today's edition of Locked On Cavs.
You are Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi again, everybody. My name is Danny Cunningham, and I cover the Cleveland Cavaliers over at my Substack, The Inside Shot. And you're listening to another edition of Locked On Cavs, a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network in all of America. You can find this show the same place you can find any other Locked On podcast. That's Apple, that's Spotify, that is YouTube as well. Please make sure you hit the thumbs up button and the notification bell as we get rolling here on Locked On Cavs, and make sure you're subscribed anywhere else that you might be listening. And today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. And if you're a new customer, bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets back if you win. On today's show, we will be talking about Evan Mobley's latest injury to his left calf, what it means for the Cavs, how they need to power through things, why I don't, despite the fact the record has been good lately, why I do not believe the Cavs are better without Darius Garland in the long term, and we will talk LeBron James returning to Cleveland for potentially the final time as an active player in Wednesday night's game. But Evan Mobley is where we need to start this show, because the Cavs announced on Tuesday afternoon that Mobley is going to miss the next 1 to 3 weeks with a left calf strain. And this is the same calf that Evan previously had injured. He missed some time in December. And the good news here is that Evan Mobley consistently throughout his career has been a fast healer. He's not missed a lot of time due to injuries. He's been somebody that has been pretty available throughout his time on the floor. Like, yes, he had that knee surgery a couple years ago, but even like last year, I think that had it not been the playoffs when he had that ankle injury against the Indiana Pacers, he probably would have missed more time than just one game. He ended up missing game 2, was back in game 3. Don't know that he looked all that great afterwards on what was a freak injury, and certainly looked to be pretty painful, but he bounced back from it about as quick as you could have imagined or as you could have hoped. And think back to earlier this year when he had this calf injury to the same leg. It was originally stated that he was going to miss 2 to 4 weeks. And that came out, I believe it was on December 12th or December 13th. It was in that neighborhood. And you think, okay, well, this probably puts us until the middle of January, especially with how finicky calf injuries can be. Right? Like, you do not want that to lead to the other thing that it can lead to that we have unfortunately seen it lead to in the cases of Tyrese Halliburton and Jason Tatum and Kevin Durant in the past. Like, that is absolutely the number one thing that you do not want to happen here. But Evan was able to be back in 12 days. Like, he was upgraded from out to questionable on Christmas Eve. And then he, albeit on a minutes restriction and coming off of the bench, he played in the Christmas Day game against the New York Knicks. And I think that maybe part of the reasons, and without really knowing too much of the specifics about the injury, other than he reported tightness after the win against Orlando on Monday, and they're going to kind of, hold him out for a while. I would imagine that if Evan did not have this track record as a fast healer that he has earned here, I would imagine that this injury would be looked at as longer than 1 to 3 weeks. Like, you would probably be looking at a 2 to 4 week time frame that was similar to what we had the last time Evan got hurt. But he has shown this ability to get back quick and to be able to heal faster than other players. And it's one of the best things about him, is that he's always available and always healthy. And this is, I think, a really, really frustrating thing for fans, for people inside the organization, really for everybody involved, because I don't know that it's fair to say the Cavs have turned the corner. And we'll talk about that more in the second segment. But they finally have found this consistency that's really been lacking. Like, I don't think that it's coincidental. The Cavs have had a 4-game winning streak here, and it's the first time they've had the same 5 start 5 straight games. Like, prior to this past week, the Cavs had not had the same starting 5 in more than 3 consecutive games at any point this season. And now they've had that same group, which obviously will not be the case on Wednesday night against the Lakers because Evan Mobley is out. But they have had that starting 5 go for 5 straight games. And I do think that is at least part of the reason why they're finding success. So having to replace Evan in the starting lineup, having to replace Evan on the defensive end of the floor. Like, those are going to be really tall tasks that are not going to be just absorbed by one player. We can't sit here and look at Jared Allen and say, hey, you have to be Evan Mobley now. And we can't sit here and look at Larry Nance Jr., who I would expect to start to get a few more minutes, or Thomas Bryant, who I think it makes sense to put in the every night rotation now with Evan Mobley out. Like, you can't look at those guys and just say, hey, go be Evan Mobley, because those guys are not Evan Mobley. Like, if they were, they would not be in Cleveland, because you don't have room to pay two guys that are as good as Evan Mobley at that same position. Like, that's just not how things work. But I do think the Cavs are going to be asking a number of different guys to kind of like pull from individual areas or parts of Mobley's game. I think it's going to lead to Kenny Atkinson needing to be creative in his lineups. And Kenny has shown the ability to really be creative with some of those lineups. I mean, so much so that even against the Orlando Magic, it's the second quarter again, and I'm pulling up Cleaning the Glass and saying, hey, the lineup on the floor right now has not played together yet this season, and it's January 26th as that happens. So I don't think that this is a franchise or a coaching staff that's scared of creativity. But when you are without Evan Mobley, when you're still without Darius Garland, when you're still without Max Strus, and yes, it does seem like Sam Merrill and DeAndre Hunter will both be back for Wednesday night's game. They've both been upgraded to probable, at least as of the injury report on Tuesday evening that the Cavs put out. So that is like one of the bright sides here, is that they're not having to replace Evan Mobley while also having four other rotation players out. They're going to replace Evan Mobley while having two other rotation players out in all likelihood, which makes things a little bit easier. It also, I do think, probably means that this team is going to have to find a way to be a little bit more offensive oriented. And we will get into this when we have the Darius Garland discussion coming up, but like, the Cavs offensively have not been great. They have missed the guys that have been out. Like, they have missed Sam. They have missed Darius. They have missed DeAndre. And I know that maybe not everybody believes that, because DeAndre has not had the greatest start to the season so far, but they have missed everybody on the offensive end of the floor. And they're going to really, I think, have to lean into who they can be offensively without Evan Mobley on the floor, because he is such a big part of their defense. Like, I think, and he's not going to win Defensive Player of the Year. This injury probably puts a nail in that coffin. He's not going to win Defensive Player of the Year, but I think that he's been just as good, if not a better defensive player than he was last year. And I really think that the basketball that he's been playing lately, aside from the three-point shot, because the three-point shot has not been good since he came back from that calf injury. Since Christmas, I believe he's like 10 of close to 50. Like, it has been, he's shooting around 25% on threes. It's not been good. Other than that, his offensive game has really been good lately. Like, he has played, I think, some of the best basketball of his career. It's just that the shot from the outside hasn't fallen yet. And now the Cavs are going to have to find a way to replace that. And I think one of the biggest challenges is going to be, how do you replace what Evan Mobley does for this team without putting more on Donovan Mitchell's plate? Because, and I understand that the skill sets are completely different. Like, you don't necessarily equate, oh, Evan is out, Donovan needs to do more. Like, you would think Jarrett needs to do more, or Dean Wade needs to do more offensively, or they need DeAndre Hunter to be better offensively. And maybe those guys will pick it up. But ultimately, I think what the danger here is, and we can even go back to a couple of years ago, the last time when both Evan Mobley and Darius Garland were out for an extended period of time, and the Cavs played very, very well in that stretch, certainly. And I'm not going to sit here and say it's not possible for them to play well. Like, I do think that this is a team that should still feel good about itself, and especially if they get healthier here, can find a way to still go on a run. But they need to find a way to not need Donovan Mitchell to be a superhero every night. And I don't know that the Cavs needed 45 points from him against the Magic on Monday night. I think they kind of needed the 36 points they got on Saturday against the Magic a little bit more. But the Cavs can't have that many of those games, because if that happens, then you're going to run Donovan Mitchell into the ground. And it might, honestly, and I know that nobody wants to hear this, during this stretch, if there's a night where Donovan doesn't have it going on and the Cavs lose, it just kind of has to be what it is. Like, I don't know that this is the time where we can be super critical about what the team looks like. And I've talked recently about how the Cavs they're not thriving right now. They're not. Like, this is not some beautiful brand of basketball. This is not what anybody thinks the peak of the Cavs internally, and I think externally. Nobody watching this team right now should feel like, yes, this is the best the Cavs can be. They're getting by. And they're doing a great job of getting by, and they deserve a lot of credit given their situation. But now getting by is going to be a little bit tougher. And they do have some advantages coming up in the schedule. Like, yes, this West Coast trip is not going to be easy, but there are some built-in advantages, like the game against the Suns on Friday. It's the second night of a back-to-back for the Suns, and they're not going to have Devin Booker. The game against the Blazers on Sunday in Portland. It's Portland's first game back from a long East Coast road trip that they're on right now. There's no schedule advantage against the Clippers, but then you get to Sacramento, and it's the second night of a back-to-back for the Kings. And the Kings are not a good team, but you will take any advantage you can get right now if you're the Cavs. And who knows, at that point, that's over a week. Like, maybe Evan Mobley is back at that point. And then you get to the end of the trip, and yeah, Denver is unquestionably the best team the Cavs are going to play out there. But even for Denver, they go out east, and that will be their first game back home off of that road trip. And the Nuggets have been a much better team on the road for whatever reason I don't understand, but they've been a better team on the road so far this year than they have been at home. So with Evan Mobley out now for the next week to 3 weeks, and we don't know how long it's going to be when it's an injury with Evan, I will always bet that he's going to be back closer to the start of the timeline than the end of the timeline. But anytime it's a calf injury, I think it's fair to say that the Cavs should be and will be cautious. Doesn't mean he won't be back soon, but he's going to miss some time. The challenge for the Cavs is just stay afloat. Keep your heads above water until he's back, until Darius is back, until Max is back, because this team does have enough when it's fully healthy to go on a run. It's just they have to actually get fully healthy before we can ever actually say it's time to truly flip that switch on. Now, Darius Garland has missed the last 6 games for the Cavs, and the Cavs are 5-1 in that stretch. I think that record is misleading. It's not that they haven't been good, but they still miss Darius. I'll tell you why, and I will bring some numbers that back that up next right here on Locked On Cavs.
I carry a lot of responsibility in my household. If something happened to me, there would be serious consequences. We have a mortgage. We got tuition. We got everyday bills. Those aren't going anywhere if something happens to me. And I know that's an overwhelming feeling, but I'm taking steps to protect my family by getting life insurance through Ethos. Ethos makes getting life insurance fast, easy, and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. There's no medical exam. You just answer a few simple health questions. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 a month. And as of March 2025, Business Insider named Ethos the #1 no medical exam instant life insurance provider. Ethos has 4.8 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot with over 3,000 reviews. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos now by going to ethos.com/LockedOnNBA. In as little as 10 minutes, you can get your free quote and up to $3 million in coverage at ethos.com/LockedOnNBA. That's ethos.com/LockedOnNBA. Ethos.com/LockedOnNBA. Application times and rates may vary.
And a quick reminder to everybody that the NBA trade deadline is basically here, and we want to give you a free month of the new Everydayer Club to help get you ready. If you need a group chat to keep up with the chaos, join ours. The Everydayer Club gets you access to a group chat on Discord just for Cavs fans, plus national chats where you can hang out with fans from all across the league. You also get ad-free versions of this show. Yeah, ad-free versions of Locked On Cavs. And if you sign up by the trade deadline on February 5th, you can use the code DEADLINE, that is DEADLINE, to get your first month for free. Tap the link in the show notes to learn more. Thank you to those of you that make Locked On Cavs your first listen today. Thank you to those of you that make it your first listen every single day. Please make sure you are subscribed wherever you might be listening to your podcast. And the Cavs have done, I think, a magnificent job of staying afloat and really starting to put together a solid stretch of basketball while Darius Garland has been on the mend, while Darius Garland has been out with this injury to the great toe in his right foot, which certainly everybody hopes does not turn into what the fiasco with his left foot has turned into. And I also do think that there's hope that this extra time off while rehabbing his right toe can help his left toe feel a little bit better as well. But the Cavs have gone 5-1 in the past 6 games without Garland, and they deserve a lot of credit for being able to string together victories. They've beaten some solid teams. They beat a bad team in there. And then, of course, they had a blowout loss to the Oklahoma City Thunder. That is obviously a good stretch of basketball. Like, if I would have told you when Darius Garland hit the floor against Philadelphia back on, I believe it was January 14th. So we're 2 weeks out from that at this point. If I would have told you, hey, The Cavs have games. They have another one against Philly. They've got 2 against Orlando. They've got the Thunder game in there. They've got a game against the Kings. Like, they're going to find a way to go 5-1 over the next 2 weeks. Everybody would have signed up for it. It didn't matter who they would have beat, didn't matter who they would have lost to, because right now, wins and losses are the only thing that matters. Like, yes, the process matters too, and the Cavs care about that, and they want to do things the right way, and they're still going to believe that their process is going to lead to the right results. So I understand all of that. But right now, like, I also think it's fair to say that the Cavs are just not going to play this awesome style of basketball. They're not playing right now, in my opinion, they're not playing championship level basketball. And that's why I think they miss Darius Garland. And it's not to say that we should be panicking because they're not playing championship level at the end of January, especially when it's not just Darius that's out, that it's DeAndre has been out, that Sam has been out, that Max has still not yet played. Now that Evan Mobley is going to be out too. Like, this is all about just surviving. And the fact they've been able to climb up the Eastern Conference standings while dealing with this, I think they deserve a lot of credit. But I think if you take a deeper look at how this has happened, I don't know that I think that then you start to realize, oh, they do miss Darius. They do need everything that he brings to the floor. Because over these past 6 games, the Cavs actually rank 18th in offense. They are the 18th best offense out of 30 teams in the NBA. That unquestionably is nowhere near a championship caliber offense. Their offensive rating over the past 6 games is 113 flat. That is very, very average at best offensively. That is not good enough to be a championship caliber team, in my opinion. Now, I understand this is a bit of a small sample size, but it also, in watching and understanding that it's not just Darius that they miss. They miss Sam a lot. They're going to miss Evan a lot. So I understand all of those things, but I also think about what the Cavs have looked like when Darius Garland is at his best. Not even this year, but just like historically, how much better they have looked offensively when he really is starting to look like himself. And I do think that prior to this most recent injury, he had started to look like himself. And I thought that the offense was really starting to click with him on the floor. Like, I think about the first half they played against Philly. I think about the game they played, really both games offensively against the Wolves, maybe less so with that starting group in there that was really, really bad, that had Craig Porter Jr. along the core for. But I think about the win against the Wolves, just like that was elite offensive basketball. And Darius Garland was a really big part of that. And yeah, it's totally fair to say that the Cavs are a better defensive team when Darius Garland's not on the floor. I don't think anybody can argue that. Like, every number backs that up. But also, over these past 16 games, they're 13th in defense. It's not as if they have turned into this elite defensive team without Darius Garland. Now, part of this on both ends is skewed because that's a small sample size. And the game against Oklahoma City was a bad offensive performance and a bad defensive performance. They were good at nothing in that game. But that's kind of the point here, is that they can find a way to beat a lot of teams without Darius Garland. And they deserve credit for that. Like, they should get a lot of credit the way they beat the Sixers, because Jalen Tyson was awesome in a game that Donovan Mitchell wasn't very good in either. That win over the Hornets, I think, looks a lot better now than when the Cavs were up by 27 and then had to hang on for dear life at the end. I think that looks a lot better now, considering what the Hornets have done over the past couple of weeks. That looks like a really good win. Both wins over the Magic. Like, is Orlando a great team? No, I don't think so. But I do think that they're a playoff caliber team, and the Cavs beating them twice is a big deal. But I look at who the Cavs have on the roster. I look at how good Donovan Mitchell is. I look at what Evan Mobley has done this year, and this is obviously all before the recent calf injury for him. But I look at that and say, this Cavs team without Darius Garland should have enough to beat those teams. And part of the problem earlier this season is that they were not beating those teams, and that's why they're currently in 5th place in the Eastern Conference standings. But then I look at that game against the Thunder, who were also shorthanded in that game, to be fair. And I say, you know what? The Cavs do have enough to beat some of the good teams in basketball without Darius Garland. But they don't have enough to win a championship without Darius Garland. They're not a good enough offense. They're not a great team. Because last year, the Cavs, and I don't want to make this about last year, but I think there's an important lesson to be learned from it. The reason why the Cavs were one of the favorites to win the title last year was because they were an elite offensive basketball team. They had the second best offense in NBA history, according to offensive rating. That is how good they were on that end of the floor. Darius Garland was a large part of that success. Like, he was a big deal for them offensively. When he was healthy, I thought that the first half of his season, prior to that game against the Knicks where the injury started for him in February, I thought he was playing at an all-NBA level. Like, when the All-Star break came last year, I thought the Cavs, they had 3 All-Stars. Should it surprise anyone if all 3 of those guys make all-NBA? I didn't think it should have been a surprise. And then Darius's production dropped off because he was injured in the second half of the season. But this year, I think we have seen through wins and losses where the Cavs have missed Darius Garland. Now, a lot more has been put on Donovan Mitchell's plate, and they tried to put a lot more on Evan Mobley's plate early on, and it didn't necessarily work. But they can get by, and they can win a lot of games, and they can be a home court advantage team in the Eastern Conference. But they're not going anywhere without him. They're not a good enough offensive team. And yeah, maybe they take a little bit of a step back defensively, but it's not like they've been this defensive juggernaut when he's not available either. Like, they have other problems on that end of the floor. They don't have, even with Evan Mobley, the recipe for this team. And I know that they're always going to say they're a defense first team, and every team in basketball is going to say that. The recipe for this team to get to where it wants to be is by being an elite offensive team. And they cannot be an elite offensive team without the play of Darius Garland. So yeah, they've gone 5-1 without Darius. And that's a really big deal for a team that finally looks like it's starting to play hard. But a lot of the things that are kind of lying underneath that record, which again, some of this is skewed because they lost by 30 to the Thunder. But losing by 30 to the Thunder kind of says that even going 5-1 means, because of what that one loss was, that without Darius, they're not a good enough basketball team right now. Now, getting Darius back will be a big deal when he does return from his injury. Maybe it happens on this West Coast trip that's coming up. Maybe it doesn't. But when Darius is back and healthy, the Cavs will be much better for it. They need to find ways to continue to win games without him. But I think it's ultimately just worth remembering as you're watching this team without Darius Garland that they can be good, but they can't be great unless they have Darius Garland as a part of their offensive system. And that is something that I really think we have learned over the past couple of weeks. Now, on Wednesday night, the Cavs are back in action. LeBron James in town with the Los Angeles Lakers. Maybe it's the last time he plays in Rocket Arena. Maybe he plays a lot more games in Rocket Arena. Nobody knows what the future holds, but it's worth appreciating what this moment will be like. And we're going to talk about that next right here on Locked On Cavs. But first, today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. It's the last call for football on FanDuel because you've got one final Sunday, one last kickoff, the final chance to get in on the action before the NFL season officially comes to a close. This is Super Bowl 60, and FanDuel is making sure you're right in the middle of it with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. Whether you're backing the favorite, riding with the underdog, or building one last same-game parlay, this is the game that everybody has been waiting for. This is where predictions turn into plays, stats turn into storylines, and every snap feels bigger than the one before it. It's the perfect way to cap off the season and make the Super Bowl even more exciting from kickoff to the final whistle. And if you're a new customer with FanDuel, bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Yeah, just win that first $5 bet, $200 in bonus bets are yours with FanDuel if you are a first-time customer and you win that first $5 bet. So make it count, because after the Super Bowl, season is over. It's the last call for football on FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com to get started today. Today's show is also brought to you by TurboTax. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life, and this year TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax Full Service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or the guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with local TurboTax expert in person or online. You can connect with them. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employed forms and work to get you every deduction that you could possibly dream of. You can upload your documents, go about your day, and get updates right in the TurboTax app. It's a huge time saver and gives real peace of mind knowing an expert is handling it for you. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in. If a TurboTax expert did not file for you last year, all you got to do, file by February 28th. So take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local. That is TurboTax, TurboTax.com/local, LOCAL, to book your appointment today. Thank you again for making today's edition of Locked on Cavs your first listen. Thank you to those of you that make this show your first watch every single day. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, or anywhere else you might be getting your podcast. And the Cleveland Cavaliers are back in action on Wednesday night as they take on LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers. And anytime LeBron James is in town, it's a special moment, right? He will always have this relationship with Northeast Ohio that no other player in basketball will have. The Cavs, quite frankly, do not have a championship or even sniff one, I think, in the franchise's history, really, without LeBron James. Like, he is not everything the Cavs have been. Like, they have obviously had some really good teams without him. Last year was certainly one of them. And the Cavs, over the past several years, have been in this situation that has been new because since LeBron entered the league, whenever he was not in Cleveland, really until, I think, 2022, it's fair to say, wherever LeBron was in a better situation than where the Cavs were. And now we are in a position where, right now the Lakers have a better record than the Cavs. I think the Cavs are a better team than the Lakers. Like, the Cavs have a better chance this year, and I'm not saying it's a great chance, but they have a better chance of winning the title this year than the Lakers do. But it's been, I think, a unique relationship. And anytime that he steps foot in Rocket Arena to play a basketball game, or even to watch a basketball game, as we have seen before, it's an emotional night. It's a night that brings back a lot of memories. It is a night that kind of makes you wonder about maybe what could have been or what still could be, because there's a lot of noise out there that this is probably the final season for LeBron with the Lakers. I don't know if it's the final season with LeBron in the NBA. I certainly hope not. I still enjoy watching LeBron just defy father time and continue to do things on the basketball floor that nobody at his age should have any business doing on a night-to-night basis. He's not the same player he was 5 years ago. He is certainly not the same player he was 10 years ago when the Cleveland Cavaliers won a title. But he is still awesome. He's still great. He's still somebody that means a lot to this community, a lot to this organization. Like, the Cavs organizationally, so much of their history is tied up with LeBron. And that's why I think it's very appropriate that the Cavs are wearing their classic edition jerseys on Wednesday night against the Lakers. I think that's a really cool thing. And I think that is a very, very special moment that's going to happen. And I think that anytime LeBron is in Cleveland, the reception should be very warm. I think that should be the case from now until the time that he retires. And I think that Wednesday night is going to prove to be the same. Now, what happens once the game starts, who knows, right? Like, LeBron has been inconsistent this year. The Lakers have been inconsistent this year. This is a game that the Cavs should win. And if they do win, should feel very good about it, especially considering their injury circumstances. But this could be, theoretically, LeBron's last game against the Cavs in Cleveland. Now, the Cavs do play the Lakers again. It's the end of March, early April. I don't remember the exact date, but it's one of the last weeks of the season. And that could be the final time he plays the Cavs. I hope it's not. Or maybe, I don't know, because we've heard so many rumors, and I don't even want to bring this stuff up because I don't know how much of it's true. I don't know how much of it's not. I haven't asked about this stuff. But like, there's thoughts out there that he's not going to be with the Lakers next year if he plays, and that the Cavs could be an option for him. And I think that is entirely dependent on what happens with the Cavs when the postseason arrives. Like, if they go to the finals, do they have interest in LeBron? Probably not. If they lose early in the playoffs again, you probably make that phone call. But I think that Wednesday night is a special night, and it's one that Cavs fans should cherish. I know it's a little awkward at times because he's not playing for the Cavs, but no matter where he's playing, no matter what that jersey says, there's always going to be a part of Northeast Ohio that is involved. And I just don't think that, especially as time in his career winds down, I don't think it's something that should be taken for granted. And I really hope that Cavs fans don't take it for granted. Now, that's going to do it for today's edition of Locked on Cavs. I appreciate you hanging out with me right here, wherever you get your podcasts. It's Apple, it's Spotify, could be anywhere else as well. And please, thank you for watching on YouTube. If you are watching, as we get out of here, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button and click the notification bell. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you are consuming Locked on Cavs. Cavs take on the Lakers on Wednesday night, and I will have you covered right here afterwards at Locked on Cavs.